Every little comment, every minor setback. If it all gets under your skin, you're giving away your power. The truth is, the most unshakable people don't have fewer problems. They've simply mastered how they react. You are not controlled by what happens to you, but by how you respond to it. Imagine walking through life. No more overthinking, no more emotional outbursts, just a state of unbreakable calm. What if you could navigate insults, failures, and criticism with the composure of someone who's untouchable? What if you could silence the chaos within and become someone people can't figure out, someone whose peace is a mystery? The problem is, most of us are trapped, puppets to emotions and approval-seeking, crushed by judgment and rejection. But here's the promise. If you grasp the principles in this video, you'll gain a mental edge that no one can take from you. Stay until the end for a powerful bonus lesson that could change everything. Let's begin with stop being a puppet to other people's opinions. There was once a great fortress, impenetrable, vast, and without a single window. No wind, no storm, no outside force could disturb its peace. This is the mind of a person who refuses to be controlled by opinions. But most people, they live like houses with broken doors, letting every storm of judgment shake their foundation. Think about it. How often do you let someone's words ruin your day? A passing comment, a disapproving glance, a whispered critique. And suddenly, your mood is in their hands. You become a puppet, dancing to the strings of someone else's perception. But here's the truth. What people say about you has nothing to do with you. Their judgments are mirrors reflecting their own insecurities, fears, and limitations. Buddhism teaches that attachment leads to suffering. And one of the greatest attachments we hold? The need for approval. It's a silent prison, invisible yet powerful. Every time you seek validation, you hand over the keys to your inner peace. But what if you didn't? What if, instead of reacting, you simply observed, like the fortress, standing still as the winds of opinion pass by? Imagine this. You post something online, and someone leaves a cruel comment. Your first instinct is to defend yourself, to explain, to justify, to prove them wrong. But why? Their words do not define you. When you no longer seek validation, insults lose their sting. Criticism loses its grip. You become immune. And this immunity is not indifference, it is power. A Zen master once told his disciple, when someone gives you a gift but you do not accept it, to whom does it belong? The disciple replied, to the giver, of course. The master smiled, then why do you accept the gift of insult and judgment? This is the essence of true freedom, understanding that not every opinion deserves your energy. Ask yourself, what judgments are you still carrying that aren't yours to bear? Whose approval have you been chasing at the cost of your own peace? The moment you realize that your self-worth is not up for debate, you reclaim your power. You stop explaining, defending, and seeking permission. You simply exist, unshaken. Imagine walking into a room where whispers follow you. Instead of shrinking, you smile. Instead of reacting, you remain still. Because you know what they say does not define you. And in that moment, you become untouchable. You may wonder, but what if their criticism is valid? Even then, remain calm. Listen with an open heart, but without attachment. If the critique offers truth, learn from it. If not, let it pass like a cloud drifting by. When you master this, no one will have control over you. Remember this. People's opinions are fleeting. Your inner peace is permanent. Protect it. Walk through life like the fortress without windows. Let the winds howl, let the storms rage, but remain still. When you stop being a puppet to others' opinions, you become the master of your own mind. And the one who controls their mind controls everything. Act as if nothing bothers you, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. Because the day you stop reacting is the day you start living. 2. Master the art of controlled vulnerability. There was once a warrior known for his unmatched skill in battle. His sword was feared, his strength respected. Yet, in the stillness of the night, he would practice a different art, the art of the open hand. He knew that true mastery lay not in striking first, but in knowing when not to strike at all. This is the essence of controlled vulnerability, a strength so profound it doesn't need to prove itself. Think about the moments when you felt hurt, misunderstood, or dismissed. Your instinct may have been to lash out or to retreat behind a wall of indifference, but neither reaction serves you. One makes you reckless, the other makes you numb. Controlled vulnerability is the middle path. It is the ability to feel deeply while remaining unmoved by the chaos around you. You remain open but not exposed. Buddhism teaches that clinging to emotional armor creates suffering. The harder you try to appear invincible, the more fragile you become. Why? Because you are constantly at war with yourself, denying your feelings out of fear that they will make you weak. But here's the paradox. Embracing your vulnerability makes you stronger, not weaker. When you no longer need to appear perfect, you become untouchable. Imagine this. Someone criticizes you in front of others. Your first impulse may be to defend yourself, to appear unaffected. But controlled vulnerability chooses a different path. You calmly acknowledge the critique without letting it pierce your peace. You might say, "That's an interesting perspective," and smile. No defensiveness, no need for validation. The power lies in your calm, not your resistance. A Zen teaching says, "A tree that does not bend with the wind will break." Vulnerability is your flexibility. It allows you to sway without snapping. But controlled vulnerability means you decide when and how to bend. It's the art of keeping your heart open, but your boundaries firm. You share your thoughts, but do not crave agreement. You express your feelings, but do not demand sympathy. Ask yourself, when you reveal your struggles, are you seeking connection or validation? There is a difference. To connect is to share without attachment, to be seen without needing to be saved. But to seek validation is to hand over your self-worth, hoping someone else will hold it with care. Controlled vulnerability frees you from this dependence. Imagine walking into a meeting where you once felt intimidated. Instead of hiding behind false confidence, you show up fully present, calm, honest, and composed. You no longer need to pretend. You know that your worth does not hinge on their approval. This disarms others more than any display of bravado ever could. Your openness becomes your armor. It cannot be shattered. You may wonder, but what if my vulnerability is exploited? Then let it be. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Your strength is in your ability to remain unchanged by their response. You can be honest without being broken. You can be compassionate without being used. And when you master this balance, you become untouchable. Controlled vulnerability is the ultimate power. It is the art of being both sword and open hand. You choose when to fight and when to release. And in that choice lies your freedom. Act as if nothing bothers you, not by building walls, but by becoming so whole that nothing can break you. Because when you embrace your vulnerability without attachment, you become invincible. 3. Stop fighting battles that don't matter. There was once a master swordsman known throughout the land, not for the battles he fought, but for the ones he walked away from. His blade was sharp, but his silence was sharper. When rivals insulted him, he simply smiled and kept walking. When challenged, he declined with a bow. His students once asked, "Why do you never defend yourself?" The swordsman replied, "Because not every duel is worth my sword." Think about how often you waste your energy on meaningless battles. You feel the need to respond when someone disrespects you. You argue over trivial matters, desperate to be right. But what do you win? Temporary satisfaction, superiority. More often, you lose something far greater, your peace. The need to prove yourself is not a display of strength. It is a sign of insecurity. True power lies in knowing when to remain silent. Buddhism teaches that resistance creates suffering. When you engage in every conflict, you tie yourself to the chaos. But when you master the art of non-reaction, you become like the swordsman, unbreakable. You gain a mysterious presence, one that others cannot control. Because nothing is more unsettling than someone who refuses to be provoked. Imagine this. You're driving and someone cuts you off aggressively. Your first instinct is to honk, yell, or glare. But what if you simply smiled and let them go? No anger, no attachment. In that moment, you win. Not the battle on the road, but the battle within yourself. You remain untouchable. There is an old Zen story of a monk who was falsely accused of fathering a child. Instead of defending himself, he simply bowed and said, "Is that so?" The monk raised the child with love, though it was not his. Years later, the truth was revealed and the accuser apologized. The monk simply bowed again and said, "Is that so?" His silence was not weakness, it was wisdom. Ask yourself, how many battles do you fight that serve no purpose? How often do you drain your energy trying to be right in conversations that do not matter? Reflect on this. Would you rather be right, or would you rather be free? Because freedom comes from walking away. It comes from releasing the need to explain, defend, or seek approval. Imagine being in a heated argument, but this time you pause, you breathe, you say nothing, you let their words dissolve into the air, you smile, unshaken. This silence does not make you a coward. It makes you unbreakable. It confuses and disarms those who expect you to lash out. Your stillness becomes your weapon. You may wonder, but won't my silence make me look weak? Number, it will make you appear untouchable. Those who cannot provoke you will learn to respect you. You will gain a quiet power that commands attention without ever raising your voice. People fear what they cannot control. Non-reaction is not passivity, it is strategy. It is the art of walking away without losing face. It is the mastery of preserving your inner world while the outer world burns. And when you master this, you become free. Act as if nothing bothers you, not because you are cold, but because you are wise. Let others waste their energy on meaningless battles. You will walk away unshaken. 4. Harness the power of emotional apathy on purpose. There was once a traveler who carried an empty vessel on his back. When he walked through storms, the rain filled the vessel, but he did not complain. When he crossed rivers, the vessel held water, but he did not cling to it. When the sun scorched the land, the water evaporated, but he did not mourn the loss. The vessel remained empty, ready for whatever came next. This is the essence of intentional emotional apathy, being open to experiences without being weighed down by them. Think about how easily your emotions are swayed. A stranger's rudeness leaves you frustrated for hours. A minor inconvenience disrupts your entire day. But what if you could move through life like the empty vessel, holding experiences without being filled by them? This is not indifference. It is selective focus. It is the power of emotional apathy. used on purpose. Buddhism teaches that attachment breeds suffering, and emotional attachment is no different. When you care too much about every opinion, every inconvenience, and every outcome, you become a puppet to chaos. But when you practice selective apathy, you regain control. You no longer respond to every slight. You stop absorbing every emotional wave. You hold the experience, but you do not become it. Imagine this. You're at work, and a colleague makes a passive-aggressive remark. In the past, you would have carried that bitterness with you, replaying it in your mind. But this time, you pause. You decide it's not worth your emotional energy. You let it pass through you like water in the traveler's vessel. You remain calm, unaffected. This is not weakness, it is mastery. There is a Zen story of a man crossing a river on a small boat. Midway, another boat crashes into his. The man is enraged and begins shouting until he realizes the other boat is empty. There is no one to blame. His anger vanishes. The lesson? Treat people like empty boats. When someone insults you, imagine they are empty, carrying their own chaos, unaware of yours. Suddenly, you feel no need to retaliate. You become emotionally free. Ask yourself, would your peace increase if you cared less about what others think? What if you could walk through criticism without flinching? What if you could face rejection without questioning your worth? The less you care about what doesn't matter, the more you care about what does. By being selectively apathetic, you create space for genuine connection, creativity, and peace. Imagine this. You're in a heated conversation. Instead of matching the other person's aggression, you soften, you detach. You see their words as empty boats, floating by without hitting your shore. You breathe deeply and smile. You are no longer a prisoner to their energy. You choose apathy not out of coldness, but out of wisdom. You may wonder, but what if I seem indifferent? Let them think so. The world will label you in countless ways: detached, aloof, unfeeling. Let them. Their labels do not define you. Your peace does. Emotional apathy, used with intention, is the ultimate form of emotional intelligence. You choose what affects you. You decide what is worthy of your energy. And when you master this, you become untouchable. Act as if nothing bothers you, not because you feel nothing, but because you refuse to be ruled by what is fleeting. Let others drown in the storm. You will remain the empty vessel, free, light, and unshaken. 5. Rejection is not a reflection. It's a redirection. There was once a sailor who set out toward the horizon with a clear destination in mind. But as he sailed, the winds changed direction. No matter how hard he fought, he couldn't keep his course. Frustrated, he almost turned back. But then he realized, by adjusting his sails instead of resisting the wind, he could reach an entirely new shore, one far greater than the one he had aimed for. This is the lesson of rejection. It is not the end of the journey, but the redirection of it. Think about how often you let rejection define you. A job you didn't get, a relationship that ended, an opportunity that slipped away. You take it personally, as if it were a statement of your worth, but it isn't. Rejection is not a reflection, it's a redirection. It is life guiding you toward the path meant for you, not the one you stubbornly clung to. Buddhism teaches that clinging creates suffering, and clinging to what rejects you only deepens the wound. When you resist rejection, you become like the sailor fighting the wind. You waste your energy battling forces beyond your control. But when you embrace it, you flow with life. You trust that every no is clearing space for a greater yes. Imagine this. You prepare for a promotion at work. You give it everything. But when the time comes, The position goes to someone else. You feel the sting of disappointment. But what if, instead of spiraling into self-doubt, you saw it as redirection? Maybe that rejection is freeing you for an opportunity where you'll thrive. Maybe it's life's way of saying, there's something better, wait for it. There is a Zen story of a man whose only horse ran away. His neighbors pitied him, but the man simply said, maybe so, maybe not. Days later, the horse returned with a herd of wild horses. The neighbors congratulated him. Again he said, maybe so, maybe not. Later, his son broke his leg while taming one of the horses. The villagers mourned, but the man remained calm. Soon after, a war broke out. All able-bodied young men were sent to battle, except his injured son. The moral: what seems like misfortune may be your greatest fortune in disguise. Ask yourself, what if rejection was a lesson, not a verdict? What if it was simply clearing a path you hadn't yet imagined? Imagine how light you would feel if you no longer feared rejection. What if you saw it as a signpost guiding you, not as a blow diminishing you? Picture this. You pour your heart into a relationship only to be left behind. In the past, you might have questioned your worth, but now you recognize the truth. They didn't reject you, they freed you. Their inability to see your value does not diminish it. You move forward lighter and wiser, knowing that rejection is simply misalignment, not failure. You may wonder, but what if I keep getting rejected? Then let it come. The more rejection you face, the clearer your path becomes. You will learn where you do not belong, and in doing so, you will discover where you do. Rejection, when embraced, becomes one of life's greatest teachers. It strips away what is not meant for you and makes room for what is. It humbles you, refines you, and redirects you. Act as if nothing bothers you. Not because you are numb, but because you trust that rejection is not the end. It is the beginning of redirection. Let others close doors. You will keep walking until you find the right one. 6. Let them wonder. The power of silent success. There was once a master chess player who rarely spoke during his matches. His opponents would taunt him, trying to provoke a reaction. But he remained still, unreadable, untouchable. While they boasted and strategized out loud, he made his moves in silence. And when victory came, it came swiftly and without warning. He never declared his power, he simply revealed it. This is the power of silent success. Think about how often you feel the need to explain yourself, to prove your worth. You defend your dreams to doubters. You broadcast your plans to those who are not rooting for you. But what do you gain? The more you explain, the more you dilute your power. True strength doesn't demand validation. It moves in silence. Buddhism teaches that attachment to praise creates suffering. When you seek recognition, you hand over your power. You become reliant on applause to feel worthy. But when you practice silent success, you become like the chess master, calm, deliberate, and always several moves ahead. You stop explaining and let your results speak for you. Imagine this. You're working on a personal goal, building a business, mastering a skill, or transforming your health. In the past, you would have announced it, seeking approval. But this time, you move in silence. You skip the grand declarations. You show up, do the work, and let the results unfold naturally. When people ask, you simply smile and say, "You'll see." There is a Zen story of a farmer whose horse ran away. His neighbors pitied him, saying, "What bad luck." The farmer remained silent. Days later, the horse returned with a herd of wild horses. The villagers congratulated him. Again, he said nothing. Later, his son broke his leg while taming one of the horses. The villagers lamented his misfortune, but once again, the farmer remained silent. Soon after, a war broke out. All able-bodied men were called to fight, except his injured son. The moral: the farmer's silence kept him free. He neither celebrated nor despaired. He simply observed. Ask yourself, are you trying to prove something to those who don't even matter? Why? Imagine how powerful you would feel if you no longer needed to explain yourself. What if your silence made you more powerful than any argument? Picture this. You're in a meeting and someone questions your competence. In the past, you might have defended yourself, explaining your value. But now, you say nothing. You simply let your next action prove your worth. Your silence unsettles them. It makes them wonder. And when your results emerge, they speak with a force no words could match. You may wonder, but won't silence make me seem weak or indifferent? Number, it will make you seem untouchable. Those who must constantly explain themselves are already doubting their worth. But those who move in silence are a mystery, and mystery is power. Silent success is not passivity, it is a strategy. It is the art of being so secure in your abilities that you no longer need external validation. You move quietly, but with immense force. And when the results come, they arrive like thunder, unexpected and undeniable. Act as if nothing bothers you, not because you are emotionless, but because you no longer need to prove yourself. Let others speak of their plans. You will simply execute them, quietly, relentlessly, and powerfully. 7. Control your narrative by controlling your silence. There was once a man who carried a locked diary wherever he went. People often asked what secrets it contained, but he never revealed its contents. Some assumed it held his darkest confessions. Others believed it contained brilliant ideas. The truth? The pages were blank, but the mystery of the locked diary made him more intriguing than any words ever could. This is the power of silence. It controls the narrative by leaving it unwritten. Think about how often you give away your power through words. You explain your intentions. You defend your choices. You fill the silence to ease your discomfort. But with every unnecessary word, you become more predictable. The more you speak, the more people interpret, twist, and define your story. But when you hold your tongue, you hold your power. Buddhism teaches that wise speech is not only about what you say, but also about what you choose not to say. Silence creates space. It grants you time to think, to observe, and to understand. When you stop rushing to fill the void, you start noticing what others miss. You become the one who sees, rather than the one who is seen. Imagine this. You're in a conversation where someone challenges your decisions. In the past, you might have felt compelled to justify yourself, to explain your reasoning. But this time, you pause. You let the silence linger. They fidget. They fill the space with their own assumptions. And in their eagerness to fill the silence, they reveal more than they intended. Your silence speaks louder than any defense. There is a Zen story of a monk who was falsely accused of fathering a child. The villagers confronted him, but the monk simply replied, "Is that so?" and said no more. For years, he raised the child without protest. When the child's mother finally confessed the truth, the monk returned the child to her, without explanation, without defense. His silence made him untouchable. It exposed the villager's falsehood without a single word. Ask yourself, do you speak to express or to impress? How often do you talk just to be heard, not because it's necessary? Imagine how powerful you would become if you only spoke with intention. What if every word you chose carried weight? simply because you no longer spoke carelessly. Picture this. You're negotiating a deal. The other party makes an offer, expecting you to counter immediately. But you remain silent. You let the pause linger. They grow uneasy and make a better offer, just to break the silence. You didn't say a word, but you gained the upper hand. You may wonder, but won't my silence make me seem passive or disinterested? Number. It will make you seem unreadable. Those who speak excessively become predictable, but those who are selectively silent become enigmatic. And mystery is power. Controlled silence is not weakness, it is strategy. It makes you elusive, thoughtful, and commanding. It gives you time to observe, to measure your response, and to shape your own narrative. The less you say, the less they can use against you. Act as if nothing bothers you, not because you have no emotions, but because you refuse to let others read them. Let them wonder about your thoughts. Let them speculate, you. You will remain the locked diary, unreadable, untouchable, and powerful. 8. The illusion of control. Let go to gain power. There was once a man who held sand tightly in his fist, believing that by gripping it, he could keep it. But the harder he squeezed, the more the grains slipped through his fingers. It was only when he opened his hand that the sand remained still, resting peacefully in his palm. This is the paradox of control. The tighter you cling, the more you lose. True power is found not in holding on, but in letting go. Think about how often you try to control the uncontrollable. You obsess over outcomes. You cling to relationships. You fight circumstances that refuse to bend. And in your pursuit of control, you suffer. But Buddhism teaches that the need for control is the very source of suffering. Clinging creates resistance, and resistance makes you fragile. When you let go, you don't lose power, you gain it. Letting go doesn't mean indifference. It means releasing your attachment to outcomes. It means accepting that you cannot control the winds, but you can adjust your sails. Imagine this. You prepare for a presentation at work. You plan every word, but when you begin, the technology malfunctions. You have two choices. You can fight the moment, panic, apologize, and scramble for solutions. Or you can breathe, let go of the need for perfection, and adapt with calm presence. The person who resists becomes flustered, but the person who lets go flows with the moment. Their composure becomes their power. There is a Zen story of a man crossing a river in a small boat. Suddenly, another boat crashes into him. He turns and begins to yell, ready to unleash his anger. But then he realizes the boat is empty. There is no one to blame. The man laughs at himself. The next time someone offends you, ask yourself, is this an empty boat? Is there truly an enemy, or is it simply life unfolding? Ask yourself, are you holding on to outcomes that drain your peace? How much energy are you wasting by trying to control what you cannot? Imagine how free you would feel if you loosened your grip, if you allowed life to flow through your open palm instead of clenching it in your fist. Picture this. You are chasing a relationship, trying to hold on tighter as it slips away. You think that by clinging, you will keep it. But the tighter you grip, the more suffocating you become. Then one day, you choose to let go, not out of indifference, but out of wisdom. And suddenly, you feel lighter. You realize that in detachment, you gain clarity. In release, you find peace. You may wonder, but if I let go, won't I lose control entirely? Number. You will gain control over the only thing that matters, your inner state. The person who clings to everything becomes exhausted, but the person who lets go becomes unshakable. Letting go is not weakness, it is mastery. It means you no longer chase outcomes, You create them by remaining calm in the face of uncertainty. It means you no longer demand certainty. You thrive despite its absence. Act as if nothing bothers you, not because you are unaffected, but because you no longer seek to control the uncontrollable. Let the winds blow. Let the waves crash. You will remain the open palm, holding everything, clinging to nothing. 9. Don't drown in doubt. Rise above it. There was once a traveler who stood before a vast desert. His mind was flooded with doubt. What if I can't make it? What if I get lost? But he took the first step anyway. The sands whispered his fears with every gust of wind, yet he walked on. Days later, with cracked lips and weary legs, he reached the other side. And when he turned back, he realized the desert had only ever existed in his mind. This is the nature of doubt. It appears massive before you move, but once you step through it, it shrinks behind you. Think about how often you let doubt dictate your actions. You hesitate before speaking up. You delay chasing your goals. You retreat from challenges, not because you are incapable, but because you are uncertain. But Buddhism teaches that doubt itself is not the problem. It's your attachment to it. Doubt is a cloud passing through the sky of your mind. If you let it float by, it vanishes. But if you cling to it, it darkens your entire horizon. When you learn to rise above doubt, you gain an unshakable edge. You stop demanding certainty before you act. You stop waiting to feel ready. You simply move despite the uncertainty. You walk into the desert, knowing that the path will reveal itself only after you begin. Imagine this. You are preparing for a job interview. Doubt creeps in. What if I'm not good enough? What if they reject me? In the past, you might have shrunk under the weight of these thoughts, but not this time. This time, you recognize doubt for what it is, a test of your resolve, not a measure of your ability. You breathe, you walk in, and even if your hands shake, you carry on. Your action defies your hesitation. There is a Zen teaching that says you are not your thoughts. When you feel doubt, you are simply witnessing the mind's chatter. It is not your truth. The next time self-doubt whispers, "You can't do this," don't argue with it. Don't fight it. Simply say, "Perhaps. But I will try anyway." Ask yourself, do your doubts control you, or do you control your doubts? How often do you let hesitation paralyze you? What if you saw doubt as a sign that you're stepping beyond your comfort zone? What if you embraced it as a companion, not a captor? Picture this. You are writing a book, starting a business, or creating something meaningful. Doubt floods your mind. It tells you that no one will care, that you'll fail. But instead of stopping, you keep going. You don't silence your doubt. You simply move with it. And in doing so, you become the phoenix, rising from the ashes of your own uncertainty. You may wonder, but if I feel doubt, doesn't that mean I'm not ready? Number. It means you're human. The strongest individuals don't act because they are free of doubt. They act in spite of it. That is what makes them unstoppable. Doubt is not your enemy. It is your forge. It is the fire that refines you. Each time you move through it, you grow stronger. Each time you act in its presence, you prove to yourself that you are more powerful than your fear. Act as if nothing bothers you, not because you feel no doubt, but because you refuse to let it decide your fate. Let doubt linger, but keep walking. Let hesitation whisper, but take the next step anyway. You will be the traveler who crosses deserts, who rises from the ashes of uncertainty, stronger than before. 10. Your peace is not a commodity. Stop selling it. There was once a wise fisherman who lived by a tranquil lake. Each morning, he sat in his small boat, letting the sun warm his face as he fished in silence. One day, a wealthy merchant approached him and said, "Sell me your boat, and I will make you rich." The fisherman smiled and replied, "I already am rich. I have my peace. Why would I trade it for coins that cannot buy what I already own?" The merchant left confused, but the fisherman simply cast his line and let the ripples drift away. This is the lesson. Your peace is not for sale. Think about how often you exchange your peace for validation. You let someone's insult disturb your serenity. You allow workplace politics to poison your mood. You hand over your inner calm as if it were a bargaining chip, hoping to earn approval or fit in. But Buddhism teaches, peace is not a commodity, it is a birthright. You do not owe it to anyone. When you protect it, you become untouchable. Imagine this, you are at a family gathering. A relative makes a passive-aggressive remark meant to provoke you. You feel the familiar sting of irritation, the urge to defend yourself, but instead you breathe. You recognize the bait and you choose not to bite. You smile gently, but you say nothing. Their words drift by, powerless. You realize that your silence is not weakness, it is self-mastery. Buddhist wisdom teaches, no one can steal your peace without your permission. When you stop reacting, you take back your power. It doesn't mean you suppress your feelings, it means you rise above them. When you detach from the need to defend, explain, or prove yourself, you become unshakable. Ask yourself, how often do you let others determine your peace of mind? How many times have you traded your tranquility for the fleeting satisfaction of being right or winning an argument? What if you no longer allowed anyone to purchase your calm with their chaos? Picture this, you're driving in heavy traffic, someone cuts you off. Your first instinct is to react, to honk, to glare, to engage. But then you realize, why give a stranger that much power? You loosen your grip on the wheel. You let the moment pass. Your serenity remains intact. You are the fisherman, rich with peace, unwilling to trade it for fleeting frustration. You may wonder, but if I remain calm, won't people mistake it for indifference? They will recognize it as power. The person who cannot be provoked holds the greatest authority in any room. Protecting your peace may disappoint others, but it will liberate you. When you no longer sell your calm to the highest bidder, you become priceless. Your peace is not a commodity. It is not for sale. Do not let others rent space in your mind. Do not let their chaos buy your composure. Stand firmly in your stillness. Let others stir storms, but you will remain the unshaken mountain, unmoved by the winds of triviality. Act as if nothing bothers you, not because you are emotionless, but because you are free. Let them wonder why they can't rattle you. Let them question how you stay so composed. Smile, breathe, and hold your peace as your most treasured possession. It belongs to no one but you. Bonus lesson. Pretend until it becomes real. There was once a monk who walked through a village notorious for its hostility. The villagers hurled insults at him, mocking and ridiculing him as he passed. But the monk remained calm, smiling faintly, as though he heard nothing. A young boy, curious, asked, "Master, how do you remain so peaceful when they insult you?" The monk replied, "I pretend they are offering me gifts I do not wish to accept. Over time, I have forgotten I am pretending." This is the secret. What begins as pretense becomes your nature. Think about how often you let yourself be disturbed by petty conflicts. Someone cuts you off in traffic. A colleague speaks rudely. A stranger criticizes you online. Your instinct is to react, to defend yourself. But what if, instead, you pretended to be unaffected? What if, despite the storm within, you presented calmness on the outside? With practice, this calmness would no longer be an act. It would become who you are. Buddhism teaches, you become what you practice. At first, acting unbothered may feel like wearing a mask. But the beauty is this: the mask, through repetition, fuses with your face. The performance becomes reality. You are not faking strength, you are forging it. Imagine this: you are in a heated meeting. Colleagues argue, voices rise and tensions escalate. Your pulse quickens, but instead of reacting, you inhale slowly and exhale deliberately. You pretend that their words do not touch you. You remain composed, even if your insides tremble. You offer no defense. Your stillness unsettles them, and with each meeting, you become less reactive. Not because you are pretending, but because you are changing. Ask yourself, could pretending strength today make you genuinely stronger tomorrow? How often do you let temporary emotions define you? What if, by simply pretending not to be bothered, you could train your nervous system to remain calm under pressure? Picture this: you are in a relationship where minor disagreements often trigger you. Instead of falling into familiar patterns of frustration, you pause. You soften your voice. You act as though their words cannot reach you. With time, this act of calmness rewires your emotional reflexes. The pretense becomes authenticity. Your serenity, once rehearsed, becomes effortless. You may wonder, but isn't this just suppressing my emotions? It is refining them. You are not denying your feelings. You are training your mind to regulate them. By responding with grace, even when you feel unsettled, you transform your internal landscape. You are no longer a slave to impulse. You are the master of your emotions. Buddhist wisdom reminds us, the mind is like clay. It takes the shape of what you repeatedly mold it into. When you consistently choose to act unbothered, you sculpt your mind into a fortress of calmness. You are not deceiving yourself. You are upgrading yourself. Act as if nothing bothers you, not as a performance, but as a practice. Let them wonder why you remain calm. Let them question how you are so composed. With each moment of restraint, you become more powerful, more untouchable. Eventually, you will no longer be pretending. It will simply be who you are. The mask will become the face. The act will become the reality. Quick summary of the 10 principles. Stop being a puppet to other people's opinions. Don't let others' judgments define your worth. When you detach from the need for validation, you regain control of your peace and power. People's opinions often reflect their insecurities, not your reality. Master the art of controlled vulnerability. Being vulnerable isn't weakness, it's courage. Express your feelings without becoming dependent on approval. Controlled vulnerability strengthens you because you own your emotions without being ruled by them. Stop fighting battles that don't matter. Not every criticism or insult requires a response. Reserve your energy for what truly matters. Non-reaction isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Harness the power of emotional apathy. On purpose, selective emotional investment protects your peace. Caring less about what drains you gives you more strength to focus on what empowers you. Rejection is not a reflection, it's a redirection. Rejection doesn't define you, it directs you. View it as guidance, not failure, and use it to sharpen your path forward. Let them wonder. The power of silent success. Success is louder in silence. Stop explaining yourself. Let your achievements speak. The mystery of your silence can command more respect than any explanation. Control your narrative by controlling your silence. Silence can be your most strategic response. When you withhold your reactions, you maintain control over your narrative and avoid manipulation. The illusion of control. Let go to gain power. Life is unpredictable. Resisting reality leads to suffering. Accept what you can't control and focus on mastering your internal world. That's real power. Don't drown in doubt. Rise above it. Doubt is natural, but it doesn't have to dictate your actions. Learn to observe it without obeying it. Act despite it. Your peace is not a commodity. Stop selling it. Your peace is priceless. Don't trade it for approval, validation, or acceptance. Guard it fiercely and let nothing disturb it. Imagine a life where your mind is your fortress, unshaken by judgment, free from the chains of doubt, and at peace regardless of circumstances. The power of these principles lies not in ignoring emotions, but in mastering them. As a Zen proverb teaches, let go or be dragged. Holding on to every criticism, every perceived failure, only drags us deeper into suffering. When you detach from what you cannot control, you don't lose, you gain freedom. In Buddhism, true strength is not in resisting emotions, but in observing them without attachment. The most powerful people are not those who are void of emotions, but those who have trained their minds to respond rather than react. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. These principles teach you to stop fighting the storms outside and instead become the calm within. Every time you choose silence over impulse, reflection over reaction, and detachment over control, you are mastering the art of living peacefully. The person who no longer seeks validation is the one who has found their true self. The person who accepts rejection as redirection understands that the path is unfolding as it should. When you begin to embody these principles, you become untouchable, unshakable, a source of strength others may not understand. Your peace is no longer up for negotiation, and your inner world becomes a sanctuary no one can invade. If this video resonated with you, give it a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Deep Wisdom for more inspiring Buddhist insights on living a peaceful life.